Hello students, welcome to the answer writing program. Today we will be discussing salient features of the world's physical geography from GS1. So let's see the three questions. The first question is about the types of tectonic plate boundaries and the landforms associated with these boundaries. The second question is related to the seismic discontinuities, and we need to discuss the various discontinuities in the earth. The third question, which is also the current affair and also the static one, is about the coral reefs and the impact of changing climate or the climate change or global warming on coral reefs. So let's start one by one. The first question says, with reference to the theory of plate tectonics, discuss various types of tectonic plate boundaries found around the world and associated landform. So the question is asking about plate tectonics theory, and what we need to tell: types of plate boundaries and associated landforms with those boundaries. So how you can introduce your answer? You can write about the plate tectonics theory, then followed by plate tectonics or the plate boundaries. Then you can tell that the interaction between the different plate boundaries lead to the formation of the landforms. So this way you can start the introduction. So what the plate tectonics is? It is the theory about movement and interaction of different lithospheric plates. This theory says that the Earth's lithosphere is, or the Earth's crust is divided into the multiple major plates, like there are the 7 major plates, multiple minor plates and thousands of the microplates, and these plates interact with each other and they float on the semi-molten or the semi-solid or the semi-liquid molten lava, which is known as the mantle or asthenosphere. And due to the convectional current inside the mantle, there are the different plate interactions, and these plate interactions or along the plate boundaries, along the edges of the plate, results into the formation of the different landforms. Like there are the 3 types of the plate boundaries or the plate movement or the interaction: convergent boundaries, divergent boundaries and the transform boundaries. And there are the different associated landforms with these plate boundaries. So let's discuss one by one. We need to discuss type of the plate boundaries and the associated landform. How you can deal with this particular question? In the first body part, you can just write about the types of the plate boundaries, and in the second demand, or you can form the different heading, the associated landform, as we have provided in the model answer. Or you can do together these both the demands, and you can tell that yes, this is a divergent boundary, these are the associated landform, then convergent, then transform, etc. Like we'll see in this discussion video. The very first thing is about the divergent boundary. Divergent boundary says when the 2 plates goes away from each other, it means there are the divergent forces. It means the conventional current inside is moving like this thing. This is a slab push, and the plates are moving in this direction, and here new magma comes in from the asthenosphere to the upper surface and creates into the new oceanic or the basaltic lava, or it creates the new crust. So the divergent boundary results into the creation of new crust. Also it causes the sea floor spreading, and the landforms associated with this is rift valleys, rift seas, rift ocean, as you can see in the case of Red Sea, and the rift valley is the East African Great Rift Valley. Also, there are the associated mid-oceanic ridges where the volcanic activity produces underground mountain ranges. Like in the case we have seen mid-oceanic ridge system in the Atlantic Ocean. So how this works? First, the magma from beneath comes upward, and due to the convectional current or due to the convection in this direction, these plates diverge from each other, and this results into the creation of rift valley. When the rift valley is broadened, it means the new water comes in between, and there is a new crust creation is happens here, and this is new ocean bases, and this is also the rift sea. When the rift sea broadens, more water comes in, this happens to result into the rift oceans. Then finally the mature ocean creates, and this is the mid oceanic ridges. Like how this is formed, this is a plate, this is a magma from downward, it is coming upward, and whole range is the new magma. When from beneath comes in, it helps in creation of the mountainous longitudinal mountainous ranges. So these are the landforms associated with the divergent boundaries. Next comes the convergent boundaries. Convergent means when the two plates come together, they collide, and the denser plate with time submerge or the subduct beneath the lighter plate or the buoyant plate. So this results into three types of convergence: ocean-ocean, ocean-continental, and continental-continental. First we'll discuss the ocean-ocean convergence. When the two oceanic plates converge, the one which is denser, it will subduct beneath the lighter oceanic plate, and the zone where the most of the earthquake or the volcanic activities take place, it is known as the Wadati-Benioff zone. And when this subducted plate got melted with the help of partial melting process, it helps into the creation of the islands in the water. This results into the creation of island arcs. The very first thing, and when these two plates collide and the heavier one subducts, it results into the creation of the trenches also, like we have seen in the case of Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. Next is the formation of the island arcs or the festoons in the case of Japanese archipelago or the Aleutian Islands. Next is the ocean continental convergence. Continental are less denser according to, in comparison to the oceans. First thing. Second thing, they are buoyant, so they do not subduct. So the denser oceanic plate subducts beneath the less denser or the lighter continental plate. So the oceanic plate which gets subduct due to the partial melting, again volcanism, and the mountainous ranges form, like in the case of Rockies and Andes in the case of North America and South America. Next is continental convergence. So the continents, because they are buoyant, they do not subduct beneath each other. First thing, they do not subduct due to its buoyancy, and second, when they just collide, due the accretionary prism or the accretionary wedge created due to the scratching of the other plate. So this helps in creation of the mountainous ranges, which is purely the continental based. First thing, and the second thing, these helps in the creation of the doubling of the crust. Like in the case of Himalayan mountain, we have seen that one plate is pushing behind beneath the other plate, and the Himalayan mountains is resulting into the doubling of the continental crust. So what are the different landforms associated with the continental convergence? The folding happens, the faulting happens, and the upliftment of the crust, which also results into the doubling of crust. So this results into the formation of the large fold mountain ranges, example Himalayas or Alps in Europe. Next is about the transform boundaries. Transform boundaries are when two plates just slide past one another. They do not subduct, they do not collide, and they do not move away from each other. So this is transform boundary, and the strike slip fault happens. Also the rift valleys, it happens along the rift valleys also, like in the case of the Dead Sea. We have seen that Sinai Peninsula and the Israel and the Sinai plate, this forms the transform boundary with the Arabian plate. And also you have seen in the Turkey that the northern Turkey is on the transform boundary, and most of the issues or the most of the destruction happened in Turkey along that boundary. So next comes to the conclusion. People often find the issues in concluding or introducing the statics question of the geography, especially the geography subject. So what we can do? In introduction, like we have started with the basic definition. So same in the conclusion, what you can do, you can use the relevance of that particular theory in the daily life, or in the getting more knowledge about the earth's interior, about the earth, due to the climate change, due to global warming, all these aspects related to geography, like environmental issues, soil issues, species, fauna, whatever suits the best according to the question demand, you can conclude with that thing. Like in this case, what we can use the theory of the plate tectonics to predict, and to predict the geological hazards. If we know that yes, this is a transform boundary, these are the destructive boundaries, these are the divergent boundaries, so we need to be cautious, we need to be prepared according to that these are some hazardous areas, so we should not do habitation along these areas. So just getting to know about the earth's geological structures and about the movement of the plates, in which direction these plates are moving, we can be prepared and we can secure ourselves and prepare for the natural disasters. So this way you can conclude your geography answers. So let's see the model answer. First, starting with the plate tectonics theory, then making some small diagram, boundaries, the definition, then major tectonic plates and their interaction, and finally in a separate heading, associated landforms with respect to the different plate boundaries. Finally, conclusion. In geography especially, you need to take care that wherever possible, just made a diagram. In this particular question, what you can do, you can just do this thing, like just by showing that this is plate 1, this is plate 2, and this is convection current, and new molten magma comes up, and this is the divergent boundary, just this much also, and plates are moving forward, and new crust creation. So this much only you can write, and you can make a diagram, so and to fetch more marks. So wherever possible, just make a diagram in geography. Next comes the second question. What do you mean by the seismic discontinuities? With the help of diagram, discuss the various discontinuities in earth. So in this introduction, what you can write? You can directly write the definition of seismic discontinuities, because this is explicit demand of the question, or you can use that the broad framework, that why at the first place seismic discontinuities exist, like what is the use, how do we know that there are some discontinuities, for what purpose we have find out that there are seismic discontinuities. Due to the to get what's the earth's interior or the earth structure from inside, we used to do two studies, like indirect studies or direct studies, like direct sources to get to know about the earth's interior. First thing, like deep ocean mining, or deep continental mining, and the deep ocean drilling, so and the volcanic eruption, these are the direct sources to know about the earth's interior. Indirect sources is about the meteor study and the seismic study, or earthquake wave study. What does this mean? When the earthquake wave passes from the earth's interior, or by the artificial, when we make it pass to the earth's interior along its radius, so what happens to the different waves, what happens to the different waves characteristics, how it performs, what is the difference in the frequency, what is the difference in the speed or the velocity of that wave, and how deflections it shows along the movement inside the earth's interior. Like the P and the S waves, this is the primary and the secondary waves, when they travel inside the earth's interior, they show the different characteristics when they encounter the different physical and the chemical properties inside earth's interior. So on the basis of that, we studied this process, that when S and P waves travel along the earth's inside the earth's surface, how it shows the differences. There should be the continuous study, or there should be the continuous flow of these waves, but no, there are some discontinuities. It means there are some sections when these waves show the abrupt behavior. So this is known as the seismic discontinuities. Like the seismic waves, they show some characteristics in changing their velocity according to the density or the physical or the chemical structure of the rocks over there. So this is known as the seismic discontinuity. Let's start with the body. The first thing is the seismic discontinuity. There is a sudden change in the behavior of the seismic wave as they travel through the earth during the earthquake or any other seismic event. we have discussed this thing that seismic wave travel at the different velocities through the different types of the rocks, and when they encounter a boundary between the two different layers of the rock structure with the different properties, they undergo reflection, refraction or diffraction, leading to the observable pattern on the seismograph. So this is seismic discontinuities. Now the question is about, we need to discuss the various discontinuities in earth. So what you can do the best, you can do the, like by writing also, by write up you can tell, or you can make some small diagram and along with that do some small write up. So first thing is, P and S waves, when they travel on the upper crust, their speeds are very slow, approximately 4 to 5 km per second. So it shows that there is a very low density structure or the low density rocks material are there, which shows that there is a upper granitic layer. And when these P and S waves, they travel along the Earth's interior, the P and S waves becomes faster, approximately 6 to 6.5 km per second. It means crust is becoming more denser, and when this area arrives, it means there was some discontinuity. We say it as a Conrad discontinuity, and it approximately happens at like 30 kilometers from the Earth's surface. So the discontinuity between the upper crust and the lower crust, this is the crustal zone. So the difference, the discontinuity between the upper and the lower is known as the Conrad discontinuity. When these P and S waves moves forward, it suddenly becomes faster, approximately 7.5 to 7.8 kilometers per second. It means they have encountered the denser mantle. Then approximately when there is a discontinuity between the crust and the mantle, this is known as a Moho discontinuity. And next is at approximately 100 km, P and S wave suddenly slows down. This shows that lithosphere is end over there and asthenosphere starts. It means semi-molten structure like have appeared, which has a less rigidity, less velocity. Next comes the repeated discontinuity. It happens along to like 350 to 400 km. P and S waves again pick up the speed like approximately 9 km per second in the deep mantle. It means it shows that there is a denser mantle, it is a middle mantle, and then there is a deep mantle, and the difference or the discontinuity between the upper mantle and the lower mantle is a repeated discontinuity. Next comes the Gutenberg discontinuity, which is between the lower mantle and the outer core. Again at 2900 km, P and S waves, now the S wave suddenly disappears, and we know the characteristics of P and S, that P travels along the solid, liquid and gases, but S wave, the secondary wave, only passes through the solid material. It means whenever this S wave encounters the liquid or the gaseous material, they do not travel, they disappear from that. And P wave characteristics is such that its velocity is maximum in the solid material, then in the liquid, then in the gaseous, because the P wave velocity depends upon the elasticity of material. So after this Gutenberg discontinuity, S wave suddenly disappears and P wave lowers the speed. It means the outer core, which is fluid, has encountered. Next is the Lehman discontinuity. Now P waves continue to pass through the core. So this was our question. We need to write, not just write down about the different names of the continuity and where it happens. Along with that, we should tell about the characteristics of that particular layer to suffice this demand of the question. So in conclusion, again, people face the dilemma that it is a static question. So how just again I have to make the summary that yes, these are the discontinuities. How I can do that? So again, we need to write the relevance, that studying the relevance of studying seismic discontinuities and how it helps in attaining more knowledge about the Earth's interior structure. So we should be more knowledgeable about the Earth's interior. So these show that the seismic discontinuities plays a very important role, and along with the enhancement in the R&D or the technological advancement, it can help in getting more knowledge about the Earth's interior. So this is the model answer about the Earth's interior, then seismic discontinuities by showing the diagram and a small write-up. The model answer is showing the various discontinuities in the Earth. And finally, concluding your answer. Next comes to the third question. Coral reefs are considered critical to the ocean ecosystem. Explain with examples how the changing climate is impacting coral reefs across the world. So there is only one particular demand, that is impact of climate change on coral reefs. But question is also setting the context also that the coral reefs are considered critical for ocean's ecosystem. So what we can do just after the introduction, or in introduction you can take this stance that how the coral reefs are very critical for the ocean system. You can make small diagram representing the various ecosystem services of the coral system. Or you can introduce with the definition of the coral reef, that coral reef are underground ecosystem made up of the coral polyps, and these tiny animals live in the large groups and stick to the hard surface which is made up of calcium carbonate. And you can also link it with the current affair that the increasing global warming or increasing climate change, this is putting huge impact on the coral reef, like the coral bleaching. And you can also give example that the Great Barrier Reef or the coral reefs in the Caribbean island, they are facing issues due to the ocean warming and the ocean acidification. And approximately 80 to 90% in the Caribbean islands, these coral reefs had got died. Also, you can put the importance or the critical as that it is the rainforest of ocean. Even if you use this term that the coral reefs are the rainforest, it means it has a huge biodiversity. It places the huge habitation of the different floras and the faunas in marine ecosystem, and how it plays a very important role in that. So this way you can start the introduction. Next comes how it is considered critical to the marine ecosystem or the ocean ecosystem. The very first thing, it is a hub of the biodiversity. It supports the world's highest level of the marine biodiversity. Coral reefs act as a home and nurseries of approximately 25% of all marine life. There are 250,000 known species and 4,000 species of fish and 7,000 species of corals. So the coral reefs act as a home and nurseries for 25% of all marine life. The second thing is coral reefs provide the security or the protection to the coastal zones. It helps or it protects. It acts as a natural barrier to protect the coastal communities and beaches from the storm or the tropical cyclones and the cyclones damage. Next comes, it has a medicinal values. Next is it generates revenue for the coastal communities. It helps in the tourism and recreation. Also, it helps in the food and the fishing industry. So this way you can make some diagram, spoke and hub model also, that these are some services provided by the coral reef. First demand. Then second is we need to write down the impact of climate change on coral reef. You need to be very sure that we need to make the direct linkage that what climate change does, like the climate change increases the atmospheric temperature, oceanic temperature, ocean warming, ocean acidification, and how it creates the issues with the coral reef or the coral reef survival. So for this, to cater to this demand, first we need to write down that what are the essential conditions for the coral reef to flourish. First, it needs the shallow water. Then only we can write that these are the optimal conditions in which the coral reefs thrive, what climate change is impacting and how it is impacting the situations in which the coral reef can thrive. It means how it is impacting the coral. Then we can make the proper linkage in that. First thing is shallow water, because these coral reefs need adequate sunlight for their photosynthesis process. First thing. Second thing is it requires the clear water, so that the direct sunlight comes in and helps in the creation, or it helps in the process of photosynthesis. So and if there is any presence of the sediments, it hampers the sunlight to penetrate to these coral reefs. Next is they require warm water, like at approximately 20 degrees. This is the optimal temperature for the coral reefs. Next is they need somewhat saline water. The polyps extract calcium from these salts from the water to protect their skeleton and to form their calcium carbonatic structure. So these are the essential or the prerequisites for the coral reefs. But what does this climate change do? Climate change impacts the ocean temperature. It results into the ocean warming, ocean acidification. Ocean acidification means when there is a climate change or the global warming, it means there is an increased carbon dioxide in atmosphere. And ocean, being the natural sequester of carbon dioxide, it absorbs more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And the pH level decreases, means it goes towards the acidification, the oceanic water. Then comes the sea level rise, then altered ocean currents, then intensified storm and oceanographic events. So these are some impact of the climate change. Now we will see how these impacts these essential conditions. The very first thing, when ocean is warming, it means they cannot thrive. It means a symbiotic relationship between the algae and the coral, the structure, the symbiotic relation, these are expelled, the coral tissues. So it results into the coral bleaching. Next is, as CO2 dissolves in seawater, means that when the carbon dioxide increases in the seawater, it alters the ocean chemistry, which decreases the pH level. It goes towards the acidic level. These acidic conditions make it difficult for the corals to build their calcium carbonatic structure, which is more susceptible to erosion. When there is more carbon dioxide, it reacts with the CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate structure. First, it erodes these structures, and second, it hampers the process of making CaCO3 or the calcium carbonatic structure. Next is sea level rise. When there is a sea level rise and the coral reefs are here, this creates the more than average water level. So it hampers again the sunlight penetration. The second is, when there is a huge runoff, when the glacial retreats will be there, huge water comes in the oceanic water, and when the ocean water along the rivers, it comes into the ocean, there comes a huge sedimentation load also. And when these sediments stuck into the structures of these coral polyps, they are not able to take oxygen from the water. Their holes are getting stuck or filled with the sedimentation. This is the known as the smothering of corals. They die because of not taking or not absorbing oxygen from water. Then after the availability, this altering of the ocean current, it also alters the availability of the essential nutrients and the food sources for corals. Next is loss of key species due to the altered oceanic currents, and due to this climate change, it also results into the loss or the survival of some other species that depends on the coral reef, and this disrupts the delicate ecological balance within the reef coral system or reef ecosystem. Then next is extreme weather events like the proper droughts or the proper huge precipitation. They damage or harms the physical structure of these calcium carbonate or these coral reef structure. Then cyclones also damage the coral reef. So this way our body or the major demand of the question is resolved. Next comes the conclusion. When the question is related to global warming, climate change, impact of these things, so we should go for the way forward, or we should go for the protective measures, what we can do to save this. So the very first thing, as we have included the Great Barrier Reef in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, we should do more for the other coral reef protection measures as well. Next is we should spread more awareness regarding this coral ecosystem. Next is implementing laws and different measures in a very stringent manner, like declaration of the marine protected area, so that the human intervention or the human activities should be restricted in those areas. Then minimizing the accidents like oil spillage. Then sustainable practices, sustainable fishing practices, sustainable extraction, seabed exploration. All this should take care of that there should be the very least harm to the marine ecosystem. Next is we should promote restoration activities or the initiatives like bio-rock technology, in which human intervention is there in building the coral reef structure so that the corals comes in and makes their habitation over there. So you can write these examples as well. Next comes the model answer, starting with the coral reef definition, then some examples, how these are critical to the ocean ecosystem, then changing climate, how climate change is impacting, then some way forward, then finally concluding it. So this is the free initiative for answer writing program, and in December month we are completing GS1, that is History, Society and Geography. Next is Vajiram has already started mains intensive test series. It is comprising of 38 tests, some half length tests, some full length tests. So do join this for your holistic or the comprehensive preparation for 2024 mains. Thank you and have a nice day. This is it from my side, and keep writing.